Good evening and welcome to Nillumbik Shire Council's Planning and Consultation Committee meeting this evening. I'm Councillor Frances Eyre and I'm your chair for this evening. Thank you to those who are here in person and to those who are watching on, who will be watching live later. There is no live, just let me clarify that one. Alright, so members of the public are advised the meeting will be recorded and the recording will be made publicly available on YouTube and Council's website. Nillumbik Shire Council respectfully acknowledges the Wurundjeri Wurrung people as the traditional owners of the country on which Nillumbik is located. And we value the significance of the Wurundjeri people's history as essential to the unique character of the Shire. We pay tribute to all First Nations people living in Nillumbik, give respect to elders past, present and future, and extend that respect to all First Nations people. We respect the enduring strength of the Wurundjeri Wurrung and acknowledge the ongoing impacts of past trauma and injustices from European invasion, massacres and genocide committed against First Nations people. We acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. Wurundjeri Wurrung people hold a deep and ongoing connection to this place. We value the distinctive place of our First Nations people in both Nillumbik and Australians' identity. From their cultural heritage and care of the land and waterways to their ongoing contributions in many fields including academia, agriculture, arts, economics, law, sports and politics. I'd just like to note that Councillor Duffy is currently on an approved leave of absence by Council, which was resolved on the 26th of December 2023. Oh, sorry, which is 22nd of September. I'll try that again. I'll note that Councillor Duffy is currently on an approved leave of absence by Council resolved on the 26th of September 2023. Thank you. Councillors, is there any conflict of interest? No, thank you. We'll now move on to the confirmation of minutes. Councillor Egan.
Yes, Councillor Eyre. I'd just like to move a recommendation that the committee acting under delegation from Council confirms the minutes of the Planning and Consultation Committee meeting held on Tuesday, 12 September 2023.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion?
Happy to second that.
Thank you. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll now move on to consultation matters, which is the draft neighbourhood character strategy, outcomes of phase 3 engagement, which is closing the loop. But before we go further, we have one person to speak tonight to us. Anne Nielsen, would you like to come forward? Thank you.
Thanks.
Anne is speaking, is a committee member of Eltham Community Action Group, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
ECAG members were pleased to see that some of the issues that they had raised regarding the first draft of the neighbourhood character strategy had been addressed in the updated strategy, including by inserting some new definitions. However, ECAG's latest submission details some remaining concerns that include, first, the new definition of muted colour palette. This defines this as refers to earthen and bush tones, particularly greens, browns and greys, and gives examples in Appendix B. ECAG queried the appropriateness of one of the images in Appendix B and noted that there are many different shades of grey, ranging from almost black to almost white, some of which would not blend in with the neighbourhood. ECAG would like Council to undertake the further work to identify materials and surface colours that are appropriate within the identified neighbourhood character settings. However, if there is insufficient time for this, ECAG suggested that Appendix B could be expanded to include a brief list of approved paint colours, and the definition of muted colour palette could be expanded to clarify that grey and green must be close to the colour of eucalyptus leaves, and that muted refers to matte rather than gloss finish, and that the use of black and white should be expressly excluded. Second, ECAG noted that the preferred character statements and neighbourhood character objectives for certain areas refer to new development responding to predominantly low-scale 1 to 2-storey dwellings. ECAG earlier queried what was meant by predominantly and by story, which is not a defined term, and submitted that this needs clarification, as there are many areas where houses are only single-storey or are low-rise homes with split levels. Third, ECAG remained concerned that vague or imprecise language could result in an inability to require compliance with the strategy, and suggested that mandatory provisions should use the word must, and words such as respect and encourage could be defined to reflect what Council actually wants to achieve. Fourth, ECAG was particularly concerned by the lack of any provision for front or rear setbacks, and submitted that front setbacks should be included in the next version of the strategy, and that this should ensure that all properties have large enough setbacks on all sides to give sufficient space for canopy trees. ECAG also queried why only one minimum side setback was given in the design guidelines for some character types, whereas other types have minimum setbacks for each side. ECAG also noted references to further work in the updated strategy that include implementing rear setback canopy tree planting and biodiversity, and closing the gaps in the assessment of neighbourhood character through Res Code, so that developments that comply with Res Code but do not satisfy the neighbourhood character provisions can no longer be approved. ECAG hopes that Council will confirm its commitment to undertake such work and provide a time frame for this to be completed.
Thank you, Anne. Well within your 3 minutes too. Thank you. Well done. Councillors, do you have questions for Anne? Okay then, thank you so much, Anne, for coming in. So we'll now look at moving into the recommendation. Councillor Ramtran.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd like to move that the committee, acting under delegation from Council, 1, notes the community response to the third phase of engagement for the Nillumbik Neighbourhood Character Strategy. 2, notes that a final updated draft of the Nillumbik Neighbourhood Character Strategy is scheduled to be presented to the December 2023 Council meeting to be considered for adoption. 3, resolves that the confidential, unredacted copies of submissions to Phase 3 engagement on the draft Neighbourhood Character Strategy as provided in Attachment 2 remains confidential on the grounds specified in the definition of confidential information in Section 3.1 of the Local Government Act 2020, and 4, writes to all respondents to the community engagement to express Council's gratitude for their contribution and to advise them of Council's resolution and the next scheduled steps in the project.
Thank you, Mayor. Do I have a second to the motion?
Happy to second that.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. Just briefly, thank you, Anne. It's always good to have at least one. But I think it really shows that with the last one we had a lot more than that. We had a lot of speakers and a lot of submissions. It took a long time to go through them all, and that number has significantly reduced this time round. Just shows that the officers have done a great job taking on board all the feedback from that consultation, making changes to the strategy, and arriving at this close the loop stage where I accept we haven't got everything exactly how you want it, but some really strong improvements have been made, and that's good to see. And thank you for the submission that ECAG has made and for what you presented to us tonight. And thank you to all the other submitters. There were a few others as well. And all those submissions will be given due consideration before we move on to the next step. I'm really looking forward to actually being able to finalise this thing, and then once we've got our housing strategy done, putting both of them into our planning scheme and really having some strong protections for neighbourhood character, which I think we can all agree is really important in Nillumbik. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Payne? Any other councillors wish to speak? Thank you, Councillor Stockman.
I'd just like to point out the importance of this, the draft neighbourhood character strategy, and I think people should look for the next one too. And actually, we do get a lot of people talking to me on a one-on-one basis, but it's important to put your submissions in. It's important to talk to council. I would like to know that the character of your neighbourhood doesn't just end here and on every Monday night. I'm at the Diamond Valley Civic Centre between 6:30 and 7. You can catch up and see me. Or at the Plentiful Cafe on every Wednesday morning from 7:30 to 8. That's next to the Plenty Hall.
Any other councillors wishing to speak? Okay, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. We have no supplementary or urgent business. There are no confidential reports. Therefore, I close the meeting at 7:10 p.m. Thank you and have a good evening, everybody.
Well done.
Such a well done, Conrad.
Is there a big one that's close?
I think we had an 8.1 on point.
Go on a bit.